Monday morning it is here on High Impact TV. It is time for tea or coffee, and my name is Mudikwe Jacobs. With me in the studio, as always, is
Good morning.
Good morning, there. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
And how was your night?
Fine, good.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about something interesting, I must say.
Yes.
And we've talked about it before. You know, we were supposed to have a guest, but
Yes.
you know, it wasn't available due to circumstances that was beyond his control.
Yes, and
but
now we had Amanda and
exactly
Daniel
Ose. Yes, but today he is here with us, and he's going to be shedding more lights, you know, and doing justice to that topic.
Yes.
And what topic am I talking about? Obviously, do us the honor.
Yes, we would be talking about dynamics of advertising today, and you know, I think everyone can relate with advertising.
Exactly.
Because even just you yourself, you're advertised, there must be something about you that when you talk, people know that, okay, you are known for this.
Exactly.
So it's part of our daily lifestyle. I mean, you know, I was talking to a friend of mine one day, and we kept on arguing over something. Apparently, she saw a particular color that was known to a particular brand. And I was arguing with her that no, the fact that, you know, two brands can actually use that same color, but because you already have that mentality that that color is meant for a particular brand. And she kept on and on. We had to go to on the internet to actually check. And guess what? I won the argument.
As always,
Right?
But you know, when it comes to mobile networks, when you see yellow, you know what brand it is.
You know, let's just leave that to the viewers to understand what we're talking
when you
about.
see green,
yes,
you know, and when you see
green
red,
means go.
you just know.
Like the traffic lights. Yellow,
Come to
ready,
think of
green,
it, green, red, yellow. Wow.
I know, right?
Wow. All right. So, but, you know, talking about advertising, it is in everything you do, even to a layman, you know, they know that advertising has to do with, you know, showing your product, portraying your product to the world, buying and selling, letting people be aware of a particular product that, you know, that you have. And it goes a long way. It's not just about having a product. There's so many things that have to go into it, packaging it, and you know, the likes. You know, when we're talking about marketing, we also mentioned that advertising comes under marketing.
Oh, we had Mr.
Lampe, yes. You know, and it has to do with it comes under marketing. That's the price, products, and you know, place and all. So I really like the fact that we're talking about this with someone that, you know, is in the business of advertising to shed more light, because some people get it wrong. I was talking about, you know, celebrity endorsements the other day, and people think celebrity endorsements is just all you need. You just need the perfect face for your product, and then you don't need to put extra effort, you know, in
getting the product right.
The quality, the quantity, and all. And I remember when we had Daniel and Amanda, we're talking about the fact that we're talking about quality and quantity, exactly what actually matters, and the fact that when a brand gets recognized, these people tend to either reduce the quantity or reduce the quality.
I'm a victim of this thing you just mentioned, and like I likely said earlier on, I went to a supermarket hoping to see what I usually like. This is a brand that I'm familiar with. Every month I get to buy it, and then I got to the supermarket. Do you know, I was actually looking for it because I could not imagine that it was the same thing, because it has reduced in quantity first. And I think something happened, rebranding or something, they changed the package. And I was now looking for this brand until someone actually pointed it to me that that's what you're looking for. I'm like, no.
Wow.
It's bigger than this. So I had
the
to
fact
check,
that you couldn't even recognize
I had to check the price, and it was still the same price. I'm like, okay, what's happening? Do you understand? And then to add to what you said, a lot of people need to know what advertisement is all about. Now, when you're advertising, communication is very key and important. Like, what is actually the importance of you advertising in the first place? It is to communicate probably something new in the market, or to communicate a change in your product.
Trying to rebrand.
Or to communicate a change in your product. So therefore, as much as you want to create awareness of your product or your service, because it's not just product. Services also can be advertised. As much as you want to create awareness, you also need to put things in place. Have your target audience in mind.
Okay.
And you
know, I don't want us to review everything. I don't want to review all we know about it, because, you know, in as much as, you know, we know to an extent what advertising is, we need an expert to actually, you know, shed more light on the topic. Yes. So we will be going on a break, and when we come back from the break, we will have our guest in the studio here with us, and we'll set the ball rolling. So please stay glued, because you do not want to miss any part of Tea or Coffee today. Stay glued.
Experience the excitement at High Impact Planet Amusement Park and Resort. Our state-of-art facility offers amazing outdoor rides, playhouses, indoor games, and dining facilities. Thrill your student with a lifetime memorable excursion trip. High Impact Planet. Fun just got real.
Discover the magic. Thrill. Every sight is so close you can feel it. The excitement, the fear. Experience our cinemas at High Impact Planet, the place where fun just got real.
Welcome back. It's still Tea or Coffee on High Impact Television. As you know, we educate and we also inform. And like Modupe would always say, I am in the position to tell you that we are the first full HD TV station in Nigeria.
Yes.
Before we went on break, you know, we're talking about advertising generally.
Yeah.
And you would not believe the amount of money people actually spend or invest in adverts. You know, according to research, you find out that $500 billion is actually being spent on adverts globally every year. So you can imagine how important it is for us to actually talk about it.
Exactly.
But then we have a guest in the studio already. We have Mr. Innocent Obo.
Yes.
Right, yeah?
You are right.
Yes, the CEO of Dijo Groups. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Tea or Coffee.
Thank you.
We finally have you.
Yes. All right. You know, before we went on break, I and Modupe, we tried to explain what advertising is all about, which is communication, sales, promotion. So now, as an advertising practitioner, what exactly is advertising?
Well, simply put, you've got a lot of definitions.
Okay.
I mean, if you go through the different schools and genres of advertising, the lecturers and people who have said so much, the different views. But basically, advertising is showcasing the qualities of a product and getting the target consumer to make a buying decision and a consumption decision.
Okay. So there's a difference between a buying decision and a consumption decision.
Yes, because buying a product, I mean, this is modern advertising.
Okay.
At the end of the day, you have not, if a consumer has not consumed the product to actually become a convert, then you still have a lot of work to do. So most of the time, we want to see you actually take the first step, which is consideration, consider a product for purchase, then convert by buying the product and consuming that product, and repurchasing. Then we say you have your consumer.
Wow. Okay. Let me see if I can, come again. You mentioned you have to convert first.
Yes, you have to consider.
Okay,
consideration.
you convert.
So, and convert,
consume,
and then repurchase. It's a circle, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, the rule of advertising is to make sure that this circle is always oiled, because consumers are like the beautiful bride, where everybody is trying to marry.
Okay.
And so you need to keep the oil of love alive all the time. So that's why you see very big brands like Coke will still advertise.
You are
despite
going to pay for that because it's
advertising.
Okay. All right. So where's the place of feedback in actually the cycle you mentioned after consuming,
consideration,
consideration, converting, and consuming. You actually, the feedback of the consumers would actually be important.
There is usually a mechanism for feedback, which is where research plays. And if you look at today's world in the advertising space, you see the creatives, the media guys, who actually churn it out, the activation guys, all part of advertising, I must say all the time. And then there's the research guys who actually go to the field to get feedback. Now, in the digital space that we are in today, feedback is almost gotten immediately. Now, every wise brand manager or advertising manager puts his ears down for that little feedback. Because to us who are in the field, every little word is important. You can't say because a consumer said one thing and 100 consumers did not say it. That one consumer could be 1 million consumers. Actually, research has it. When you're building research models, one consumer is 1 million people. And so if you're doing an FGD, which is a focus group discussion, and you have just 6 people, you have like 6 million consumers. So you can understand how important one person is.
Yeah. Okay, as a practitioner, you would actually be tempted to mention brands, but then, no, you can't.
I take it.
You can't mention brands here. Okay, so
now that being said, knowing that, there are different ways in which a brand or a product can be showcased, advertised. And now we're talking about the dynamics of advertising, is how it has grown, how the changes has occurred over time. So what has been the trend from way back till now?
Well, because advertising is part of man, actually, it evolves with man. The earlier times of advertising dates back to man has always advertised, but actually becoming a profession is over 100 years of being a profession, especially coming out of America. Now, the whole idea then was you've got a product, you need to let people to know about it. So the print media, at the birth of the print media about 200 years ago, people now saw an opportunity to actually physically put their products in or say, hey, barber shop available on XYZ street. That's advertising. And before then, advertising could be said to be when you have a town crier, go inform people.
Vocal announcement.
Yes. Inform people that something's about to happen, usually of benefit to them. So you can see it's coming out, it has always been part of us. Now, with the advancement of technology, advancement of consumer behaviors, it began to become a profession. And up till sometime into the 1900s, it became a structured profession. And up to what you have today. In today's world, it's even gone very dynamic. Now, you have the barrier to entry has actually dropped because people can now build their own advertising.
Exactly.
Which has actually made it so much of a fast-moving trend. People now have products and sit at the back of their house and just create their concept and it's going. Now, ideally what it ought to be is a group of crackheads sitting down together to do the first thing, to understand the situation. If I want to talk about the process of advertising, then you can understand why it's really a profession. In the process of advertising, you actually start, because advertising itself is a subset of marketing.
True.
A very important tool in marketing.
You had a guest that had to,
explain that.
Explain the difference.
So, as a subset of marketing and one that allows marketing to live, you need to actually identify the issues that have been identified by marketing, using research to actually be sure that these are actually issues for the brand. Then, through the way, with the objectives, you begin to build a big idea. A big idea which must be monstrous enough to help that brand grow. From there, you begin to look at your execution, develop your creatives. Now, that is what most of you call advertising. But advertising is a whole gamut of activities that take place. So there's a lot of behind-the-scene work that needs to happen before an advertising piece comes out. We have to, first of all, understand you, the consumer, have a deep understanding of you. Build an insight out of your behavior. Because advertising is actually supposed to make a consumer take a decision. Sometimes take a decision in line with his behavior, or sometimes take a decision within a changed behavior in line with the trend. So to do that, we really need to understand you. We take our time with research. We come up with our own call consumer.
So there's always there's also research in advertising.
A lot of it.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, you can't achieve great advertising without great research.
Okay.
You spend more time researching, digging up facts. After zeroing in on it, 3 things are important. The consumer, you must, which you call the TCOT, Target Consumer Understanding Tool. You must understand that consumer very, very well. Isolate your target consumer from the whole and say, what makes Modupe thick? What is that thing about Modupe that will make her take a decision? You know, what is her uhuru? Once we get that, we must also understand clearly the brand. You must understand what brand, because every brand is a living being. We try to make a brand a living being because brands outlive human beings, so they're mega beings. And then very importantly, we must understand the market. Now, the Nigerian market, for example, ensures certain things happen. A brand, not wanting to call names now, particular brand in Nigeria could be advertised differently from the way we advertise it in the US or even in Iraq. But the same brand, the consumer is extremely important too. So we haven't gotten all of that. You can now build an insight.
Okay, so you need to actually put your target market and target consumers
In a market.
place.
In a market, yes.
Okay.
So once you've done that, you build an insight.
All right.
An advertising not built on an insight is dead on arrival. It's just a beautiful piece of artwork. You see a lot of them when you're driving down the streets, on billboards, and you begin to say, anytime you say, what are they trying to say? They've gotten the insight wrong. Because if it is for you, the moment you see it, you go, The consumer, it's like I said, it's a love game. You know, when you see what is meant for you, you smile. That's for me.
Yes.
Sure.
You smile and say, I'm going to do this. So each time there's that connect, your insight is right. So out of a very deep insight, I like to define insights as a deep penetrating discovery about a consumer. That once identified will unlock growth for a brand.
So what do we have now? Because I'm sure,
Yes.
because most people do not follow the research and, you know, making sure you know what the target market is. Because I went on social media, too many adverts.
just follow the
exactly,
trend
just follow the
of
trend.
what
So
is
many,
happening.
things are going on. So what do we have now? And is it right?
Well, like I said, because of the advent of social media, your phones, everybody can produce things.
Exactly.
Doesn't make it right.
Okay.
And you see a lot of things that then you begin to ask the ethics of our profession because there are guidelines. But like we say, there could be so much hula bully, if you allow me to use that word, but with time they fizzle out. Great advertising outlives time. I mean, not if you go back to when we were younger,
Sure.
you see some brands you still recall in your head.
Exactly.
Now, as a child then, you could sing those songs.
Yes.
And years later, it still make meaning to you.
Yes.
Because they were built on certain consumer insights that drives you as a being.
Sure.
You know, we're different people. As close as both of you are as ladies, you may work in the same place, have similar friends, but you're different people. You will need certain products that will meet certain different needs. So once you can get that thing that makes you different from you, there's a million you, and for every million you, there's a million you.
There's another million.
So that's how it works.
Okay. All right. Speaking on trends now. Okay. You mentioned that back then, before the evolution of advertising, it was all about vocal announcements.
Publicity, yeah.
Publicity and making announcements. This is what I do. This is not what I do. Now, I'm sure that we have different forms and types of advertising because back then, vocal announcements also a type of advertising, if I can say. So now, what are the various kinds of advertising we have?
Well, in today's world, I would not want us to begin to look at all those old trends, publicity, advertising, creative development. I want us to look at it from a space of the interaction with the consumer.
Okay.
Do you understand? The interaction with the consumer is what we should look at. And then when you look at that, you look at the activation arm of advertising.
Advertising.
You know, advertising has gone beyond show. There's beginning to be some integration. And that is what has given birth to things like the activation businesses, where the advertising idea is taken to the consumer and the consumer is engaged. You understand? I think I've moved away from that, publicity and all those ones we used to have. It's now a bit more integrated. So you see engagement becoming advertising. You see media itself. You know, people think media agencies are not advertising agencies. No, they are. Advertising is our broad name. There's a creative part. The beautiful billboards, the beautiful outdoor. No. Beyond that, there's also the engagement arm of it. There's also the digital space part of it now, which is the new trend that you're beginning to see and leaves a lot of the old school away. So if I use that new trend to answer you directly, you have the engagements, you have the digital world. It is engagement, but not a physical engagement. You have direct media, which is part of what we are doing now. The talk, you're talking to the consumer part of it. Then there's still the good old publicity. You understand? Which is announcements. Where you sit and just talk. So that is where the space of advertising is today. Especially because we call this discussion dynamics. So advertising has moved from the mundane into the new. Who are the guys that are going to survive in the next 10 years? The guys that understand these new changes and how to apply them to win the consumer.
Talking about survival, do you think that, advertising on newspapers, it's still going to be relevant, let's say in the next 5 years?
5 years is even too much. In the next 2 years.
The question I would want to ask is, the physical newspaper, is it going to be available? Is it going to be alive in 10 years? It's been overrun by events.
True.
That is the truth. The digital space, how do I get the news? When last did I buy a newspaper? I get the news on my phone.
On your mobile phone, yes.
Yeah, I get the news on my tabs, from the computer. I'm abreast. I'm even more abreast than you at the news time. So advertising on newspaper, in the real meaning of advertising, will remain, because the platform will change to our social media platforms, our phones. And this is what you see most of the big newspaper, even the new one, there's so many blog parts, newspapers, I'll say, that are now papers on your phone.
Yes.
So the advertising will continue. The rules guiding it might change, the platform might change, but the advertising will continue. But physical newspapers, I hate to say this, but in 10 years, I doubt if they'll still be in business.
Okay. I think they could still be in business, but on a different platform, like you likely said.
Most of them are actually now moving to, online platforms.
Online platforms, yes.
Yeah. I think one of the advantages of advertising, like we advertising people always say, is that because we are research people. I didn't mention research as one of the tools of advertising earlier on. Now, one of the things we always say is, where does the future lie? When I build a brand plan for any client, I build a 5-year plan. No matter the kind of brief you give me, because as a marketing person myself, I always ask myself, can this big idea be sustained for the next 5 years? Now, what is going to happen to brand A in 5 years? The consumer is going to evolve. How will technology affect him? How will the marketplace change him? So if you have that at the back of your mind, you build into that. So any entrepreneur who is in the field of the newspaper world today should be thinking of how he's going to migrate fully into that space. I don't know if you can recall when the GSMs came into Nigeria in 2001. Man, you wouldn't believe the transformation it's done to our lives. Sometimes I ask myself, what will I have? But how did I live my life before?
Without
GSM? I was working. I was in advertising. There were no phones. Then I could work. But today your phone is dead. You're in trouble.
Exactly.
You feel like
running around looking for a charger.
You could go. You start looking for a way to bring the phone back to life immediately, because your world revolves around it now. Now, any smart businessman should know that since your world revolves around it, and is only going to get smarter with these devices, you should be a step ahead. Yeah.
All right. So, let's talk about adverts now. You as a practitioner, there's a particular advert you probably look at now and see from a different angle because you're a practitioner. If I am a consumer, there's a way I would look at the advert, and you might read a different meaning. I might also read a different meaning to the same advert. So now, what are the qualities you should look out for to make an advert a good one?
Well, it's from 2 points of view. I'll look at it from a creative point of view and from an ethics point of view. Let me start with the ethics. There are ethics that guide our profession. Now, it depends on the brand. You must sell a brand, especially if you are within the watershed brands. For example, the watershed alcohol, tobacco, and all of that. Now, if you're within the watershed brands, you must obey the ethics guiding that industry. So you definitely will not sell to underage. You definitely will not have nude people because the ethics do not allow that. You see a lot of that on the social media space today. It's not allowed. because you must also be careful that advertising is open to younger people who are vulnerable.
Actually, I was going to mention that on social media, I do not think that people really follow ethics anymore, because you see different kind of adverts and different kind of things.
Yeah, and I'm not speaking for the regulatory agency now, which is APCON, but I think they are working towards it. I've had some discussions before, because the truth is, wherever the consumer is exposed to advertising, he takes a decision. Now, when you expose advertising to an underaged, taking a decision meant for an above 18, he's going to take that decision, which could be detrimental to his life. So you need to guide the ethics. And then you also must be careful in terms of ethics, what you say about your competition, because you must have a healthy competitive space. We're competing, but we're still friends. It's like football, sportsmanship. So there are some things you're not allowed to say. You must be careful saying those things so that you also do not muscle your competition. If you have a huge wallet, you must allow other businesses to grow. These are basic ethics that guide our profession when we try to do that. Though it's still warfare, but even if it's war, there are rules. You understand? Then, now when you come to the creative space, really, the creative space is for me, as a practitioner, first thing I look at is it built on insights?
Okay.
I'm not a fan of beautiful artworks that are not built on insights.
Because I was going to mention that colors alone can get your attention when it comes to adverts.
Yes, but is the color built on that consumer insight? Now, some consumers, allow me to just educate a bit. Okay. Now, if you're trying to you're trying to sell a product to Folake. She's 21. She's a graduate of a university. She's just picked her first job. She's out of NYSC. She takes a bus to work every morning, but she has a great drive to become a successful CEO before she's 35. Folake is an adventurous young girl. She clubs on Fridays with her friends, but during the work days, she is quite serious with work. Now, I'm trying to give you a target consumer understanding of a particular person. Now, Folake also she's quite ambitious. She sees herself already in that space of being a CEO and a leader. Now, begin to paint a picture in your head. Definitely, Folake is not a dull person. Folake loves to hang out with friends, even after work, especially because of the heavy Lagos traffic, because she works on the island. And when she's coming back from work, sometimes she sleeps or she chats away on the phone with her friends. She is very lively and will love to have fun all the time. Now, if I've described this kind of person to you, definitely I'm not looking at a girl who likes the dull colors. She likes bright colors, sometimes maybe indigo, pink. Blue, but if it's blue, it has to be blue, affectionate. And I also must mention, because she has a plan to be a CEO, Folake also wants a healthy family life to start at a good time. Okay. So that by the time she's a CEO, she's already taking care of something.
Okay. All right, so we actually need to go on break. We're talking about Folake. And when we come back, the story would continue. But don't forget, not just Folake, we actually started with creativity. Exactly. Aside you following the ethical part of advertising, you also need to look at the creative aspect. When we come back, we'll be back more on dynamics of advertising. Stay tuned. It's still Tea or Coffee.
Walking into comfort in a safe environment is every family's dream. At High Impact Planet Resort, our fully furnished service apartment is a home away from home. Amazing views right in your luxurious world. Work out to keep fit for an amazing body at the gym. Get affordable groceries and personal care items at the supermarket. Feel relaxed and beautify yourself at the fully equipped spa. High Impact Planet. Fun just got real.
welcome back. This is still Tea or Coffee on High Impact TV. Yes, as Rura rightly said, we are the first full HD TV station in Nigeria. Now, before we went on that break, we're talking about, you know, the dynamics of advertising, and we still have Mr. Innocent, the CEO DJ Groups, here with us. And you were trying to use Folake to explain why you choose colors, yes, advertising. So please do go ahead.
So like I was saying, so by the time you look at life, you decide to begin to build a brand. And that's the target consumer, because you must identify a consumer, identify his need to build a product, and then advertise it. So when you do all of that, definitely the color she has a lively color, and then you pick those things, begins to affect the texture, the tone of voice, and all those things that make up advertising. Now, when we pick those colors, when Folake and her Folakes are driving on the road, when they see, they know it's for them. And that's why colors are extremely important. Tone of voice is important when you're doing audio advertising. The texture of what you're saying, all of these begin to tell you it's for you. Now, going back to your exact question about when I see beautiful advertising and a good advertising or great advertising, all of those things must be in place. So it's not just some piece of artwork. It's built on insight. The color, the tone of voice, the texture. It must be right, in tune with the consumer. I can't be trying to advertise to an Alaba boy and I am speaking Queen's English.
Queen's English, exactly.
That's wrong. He's going to hear it, but he's not going to listen.
Listen.
I think because a lot of people actually make that mistake. They look out for colorful adverts or adverts that are beautiful, like you likely said. And in the essence of doing that, they actually lose the message that they're trying to pass across to their consumers.
Yeah, they may have the message, but they've lost the consumer. Because the consumer, first things first, is that the consumer is static, is the constant A. Like we say, constant K in maths. He's the person you are working towards. So this consumer is somebody who in the first place, knows what he wants. He has the power, the financial power to make his buying decisions. You're wooing him. So you must speak his language. If you want to do some great advertising, and I'm talking advertising generally, not just creative piece artworks, but then the total gamut, maybe radio, TV. If you want to sell a product to a guy, a trader, you must speak and he must see himself in it. So great advertising is when the consumer can see himself in it and take a buying decision or take a consideration or conversion decision. Because sometimes they may not be buying it, but may not be directly buying for cash, but buying for behavior. Because sometimes we advertise for people to make behavioral changes. You understand? In the gamut of advertising, because most people look at advertising just for products, but you could also be for services. We want you to take a behavioral change. But whatever decision you're making, you must see yourself in that advertising and say, oh, this is for me, they're talking to me. There you go, oh. Sometimes you see some great food ad, and you're driving on the road, you say, oh my God. You pick your phone and say, honey, can you make this food for me? Because the guy has spoken to your heart. Whenever I get to lecture marketing to young marketing people or advertising people, I say one thing to them, that advertising and marketing is a love game. It's a continuous love game within the consumer and the brand. The brand being the man and the consumer being the woman. He has to woo.
Why is it not the other way around?
Because
because the man always has to woo the woman.
Yes.
Oh, really? Not in all situations.
Well, nature has made it like that. You have instances where the consumer is wooing the brand, but it's not very common. So if you follow the laws of nature, the consumer, the brand must always walk ahead of the consumer. The man must always work hard to make sure the woman is happy.
True.
Yes.
True. You have a point there. Anyways.
Okay, now talking about forms of or types of advertising, I want to know which one is more effective. Now, the reason is, looking at billboards, there is a way it sticks. You're driving down the road, and then you see a billboard advertising a particular product. You see it, and then there's a particular day you need that particular product.
And imagine there is actually traffic.
Yes, and then
you
keep passing that particular place. You keep seeing it. Unconsciously, it sticks. It sticks, in somewhere, in the brain, and then you need that product. And okay, I've seen this somewhere, and then you pick up your phone, probably use the internet to search for it, and then try to get the product. And that is very, very effective. But when it comes to, should I say, is that TV now? Is it the same thing with TV?
For me, I think I understand what you're driving at, but what might be effective to you? You probably felt at that point in time the billboard was probably effective to you. But for me, I think
Do you understand what we're trying to do? Because
I understand you guys.
there's radio, there's TV, there's our social media platforms.
Yes.
Which one is going to last?
Be more
Like, is more
effective.
effective.
We're basically talking about the media types in advertising
Yes.
now. Now, I told you the biggest player here is the consumer. Before deciding on a media type to reach out to the consumer, the first thing you must understand is the consumer.
Okay.
Now, consumer A, by virtue of age, socioeconomic group, all those things we put together, may be a consumer that is TV driven. So you talk to the consumer on TV.
Okay.
You must look at the consumer and his best connection moments. Now, connection moment is when the consumer is most receptive to your information. That's connection moment. So you must, and that you can only drill down in a very good T-cut when you understand the consumer very well. Now, if the consumer's connection moment is when he is at home, relaxing with the family, TV will work. But if the consumer's connection moment is when she is at work, there's no family. Like I said about Folake, she's rushing to work or she's coming back from work. You must do something on radio for her. Then there are consumers who sleep in the car. They are very busy executives. Putting something on billboards, then they will not see it. Because when they are in their car, they're actually on their laptops or on their phone making phone calls, so they're not watching. So if you put something on the billboard for him, he might see it but might not have seen it. But then if he's a younger executive who may be coming back from work, is lazing in the bus or in the car, he's not being driven, he's not urgently working on his laptop. Now you can talk to that guy on the billboard. He will see it. He will see it and take a decision. But if you're talking to an A-class consumer, unless you're using digital billboards, whereby it will come only on weekends when he's less busy. But for a very busy executive, two things busy executives do is that they are either on their phone making a business call, or they're on their laptops or social media on any device taking decisions, or they are sleeping.
Okay.
You go on 3rd Mainland Bridge when there's traffic in the morning, you see all the execs like this. So you're having a billboard, but that man you can reach on radio.
True.
That man you can reach on magazines. What do you call this? Select magazines, where there are specialist magazines. For example, Business Times, not brands now, magazines that talk about business. That talk about health. Because for a busy executive, his health is extremely important for him. It's very important to him. His business is important, and family. So when you want to talk to these people, now you begin to look at those media platforms you can use to reach him. So we look at all of that when we, first of all, driven by the consumer, then with our knowledge of the tools of marketing we can use, then, or advertising rather, and then we take the decisions to know what to do. Then we know what, and then also the product. Because when you build products, when you build brands, they must be for people. Like what we say when we do marketing, we say marketing is identifying a consumer need. And building a product to satisfy that need. Simple. All the English and everything we put together, that's simple. So you identify a consumer need, or you create a need. For example, I can tell you that the GSM technology is a created need. Before the GSM technology, we were talking. You could send letters, you could write pen pals and all the rest. You could send somebody on a journey. Go and tell my mother. So it's still, you were communicating. However, the guys who invented the technology saw the need to make it faster. And they saw an innate desire and created a need for it. So can we live without it? Yes.
Definitely.
That's when you create needs. But there are some needs that you can't live without. So those are low-hanging fruits. You create a product to satisfy. That's why you say, okay, generic needs for consumers.
Okay, still talking about adverts, yes. Now, how can you implement an advert for a new consumer product?
Well, I think I'll take you first to the life cycle of brands. We have the infant level of a brand. We have the youthful, mature, and the old age. Now, nobody wants to stay in the old age. Everybody, even mature, you are careful being immature because very soon people, the younger generation won't touch you. So everybody wants to be in the youthful space. Of a brand. Unless for some brands that maturity works for them. But a lot of them are even the insurance industry that used to like being mature, wants to capture the younger people. Now, when you have a new product, how would you advertise it? You have to look at the product and who the product is for. Now, if you are clear on who the product is for, then you begin to build propositions. Now, what is the proposition? Is the love message between the consumer and the brand. You build a proposition that is built on an insight, and what value are you trying to give? Now, you extract these values from the product itself. You know, because every product is built on certain needs you want to meet. So you extract the values, which the brand team would have built upon first. You know, they're usually sessions. Assuming the product does not have a label, does not have a look and feel, does not have packaging, you start first of all by extracting the proposition. Now, when you have extracted the proposition, you build value into it. And then you start designing the pack. That's still part of advertising. Because you started designing the pack. Yeah, package design. You design the pack to fit the consumer. You do your market tests to ensure that the consumer will accept that product. Then you come back with your feedback and get it right. Now, upon getting it right, you go to the next stage. You begin to build your value proposition messages. You still have not said anything. You build your first set of value proposition messages. You test to the consumer. Because how important the consumer is. You do an FGD. Your consumer tells you, yeah, I'm going to buy this product. You may have a series of names. You know, you have agreed on names. Oh, because most time we change names. I can tell you, most of the brands you see out there today, those were not the names initially. At the point when they were being created, they had different names. Some people had names like brand X, brand Y, project names.
So there was actually a particular brand that I got tired because this year it started something different. Following year, I'm like, okay.
Talking about a mobile network.
That's an error, actually. We try, that happens maybe when the brand is born. At this point, I'm talking about brand is still at creation stage. So you change the names, and then eventually we agree on a name that the consumer has agreed on. Then based on the consumer we're talking to, we begin to build a story. You create a brand story, build on an insight, and sell the story to the consumer. You start the first stage. You do a lot of things. Like I said, advertising is a gamut of activities. Now, you begin to touch points, get in touch with the consumer, drive brand awareness, launch events, begin to get research, then you begin to sell, ensuring that the field guys are selling. The product is made available, you do your researches. And that is the stage. And you begin to build on it. The thing about advertising is that it must never stop. No matter how successful a brand is, it must not stop advertising. Consistency. I must get better at the game every day because the consumer, first of all, accepts you. And if you look at the consumer T-cut understanding, I will use this analysis. You have people that have rejected brands. We don't talk to them. You have people who accept brands. Oh, they are available. I don't know. You have availables. You have adopters. And you have those who adore you. Now, for new brands, you don't have adorers. I mean, if you jump into the adoration stage too early for a brand, you might suffer. So because you have a huge acceptor, available acceptor, and adopter space. People who are ready to try you. People who say, oh, I know the product, like you said, and Google it and buy it. Then you begin to move into that space. Brands that have the greatest opportunity to grow using advertising are brands with a huge adoption and acceptance space. You understand? So when you have built that brand, you begin to go through that circle and get to the youthful stage. When you get to the youthful stage, please don't get to the old stage. Just remain youthful. And that's why advertising must always be relevant. Products are meant for a certain kind of people. Truth is that products are not meant for everybody.
Everyone.
If you try to make your brand for everybody, you will kill it. If you try to advertise to everybody, you will kill that product. Because it's meant, that's why I said, both of you are young ladies, but you are two different people. Core-wise, a product meant for you may not be for you. So yes, we try to increase the consumer base, but within the target consumer. You understand? So by the time your product is attractive to a trader, traders are interested. Everybody's interested. You have to begin to ask yourself, what are you doing right or wrong? Is this what you really want to achieve? Even the advertising, are you advertising right? Are you sure? Because it means that very soon you will lose your base. You're going to lose your base. And once a product loses the base, the product dies. And adorers are very selfish people. Allow me to use that word. People who adore products are selfish about it.
Why would you say that?
Yeah, because it is meant for me. It does something to me. It's a love game. So by the time I see, let me use an example. Wristwatches. Now, some people could spend up to $10,000 for a wristwatch because it's meant for them. It says something about me. products say something about you. Our job in advertising is to make you realize that product is saying something about you. Now, when you believe you are in a space, and then you wear a particular wristwatch, and then you're going home, you're driving in your car, and you see a bus driver with that same wristwatch, two things will cross your mind. Did I buy the fake one?
Fake one.
Oh, the original.
Is this really for me? Is that a fake one? So when you go into gathering of your friends, the first thing you say to yourself is, maybe they may have seen that guy. They'll think mine is fake. You quickly remove it. And wear something else.
There was even this popular saying they usually say one time that I like this your wristwatch, but the original will be very expensive.
Good. So you get where it's coming from. So even for consumables, you go into a bar with your friends, you put a bottle in front of you, it says something about you.
About you.
The truth is, at month end, consumers upgrade into certain brands because they want to actually show to their friends that Baba don't arrive. So that's what brands do too. So when that consumer no longer feels that satisfaction or that inspiration that this has taken me to a space because it's now Gbogbo the consumer pulls away. And that is a guy that guarantees your volume. The Gbogbo never guarantees your volume because the Gbogbo will taste it today and not taste it tomorrow.
When you say Gbogbo, you mean everyone.
Everyone.
That's the language because they're watching us in other parts of the country.
Everyone, yes. Allow me to. You know, in advertising, we've created words. We created words in advertising, we believe, because sometimes you see us come up with big ideas or advertising messages that are akin to markets.
Okay.
You understand? So it permits us to break certain rules sometimes.
Okay. Now, so the part where you helped me and Wura settle these arguments that we're having about advertising and branding.
Yes.
I was saying that branding is the same thing as advertising. And she was saying there's a difference between branding and advertising.
I feel that there is a difference.
Okay.
Now, let me explain why I said so in my own
let
words.
Let him do justice to that. Let him do justice to that.
Well, I'll put it this way. Advertising and branding are like a bricklayer and builder.
Okay.
Allow me to use that word.
Okay.
Because one helps the other. Now, branding is... People assume that branding is when you put a logo on something. No. Branding is like an end result.
Okay.
It's like an end result. Brands, if you ask me, I can tell you what a brand means. A brand is, some people say symbol, a brand is just what part of your heart the product has claimed.
Okay.
You know, it's that logo, what that logo means to you, what that symbol means to you, what that copy means to you, what that color means to you, what that image means to you about the product in your heart. Simple. Now, what does that for you? Advertising. Advertising helps you to build the brand.
Okay.
You understand? So, people use the word branding loosely. When actual effect is like the end result. Because until you have turned a product into a brand or a service into a brand, it cannot command that activity, that desired reaction from a consumer.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have a lot of products that are still not brands because, like I said, they're all an all-commerce event. But by the time a brand or a product becomes a brand, it now means something to the consumer.
Yeah.
The color, for example, if I put a swoosh here, I mean something. If I put the color red, I mean yellow, I mean something. Green, blue. If I just set up a billboard now and I have a deep blue, navy blue, or royal blue background, I'm saying nothing. A product comes to your head when you're driving in your car. What are they trying to do? Who is they? That's a brand. This is brand X now. What are they trying to do? What's new? People begin to talk about it. Why?
Yes.
Because they have associated that product with that color and that texture, not just the color, but that texture, because there's always texture attached to colors. Now, that texture, that feel over the years. So even if the brand has not used the symbols or names, the brand still owns that color in your space, in your mind space. And then you go, these guys are playing a trick. You begin to look forward to it. That's because it's become a brand.
Okay.
So they are parts of each other. Advertising leads to branding.
Okay.
Branding is an end result. Until a product becomes a brand, it cannot really survive in the space, or the warfare space of brand
so
marketing.
they are connected and related.
They're related.
Yeah, she's right.
They're not really different.
Okay. Now you have differentiated branding and advertising. What about public relations and advertising?
Well, public relations, okay, let me put it this way. I'll give you a little scenario.
Okay.
Hey, my name is Innocent. I'm an advertising person. I'm you know? I'm a marketing guy. I've been advertising for this number of years. I'm advertising myself.
Okay.
Public relations. Wura is talking about me.
Okay.
Saying the same thing, but not from my mouth.
From your mouth.
For advertising, you talk about yourself. You see the brand hitting his chest. Advertising is chest trumping. Okay. I am brand X. I will offer you this. I'm the best brand for you. While public relations is, this is brand X. It's the best brand for you. Take it. So public relations works mostly is a third-person approach, where another person is talking about the product and not the product itself. But they are all vehicles of marketing, tools of marketing that achieve the branding results.
Marketing seems to be the major umbrella.
Yeah, marketing is a parent. So marketing has a lot of tools, like I said, of which advertising is a great one. You've got PR. You've got a lot of things that marketing gets to do. Sales is part of marketing. Trade is part of marketing. All of these get to work together in unity to deliver a great brand. Because if you want a brand, you've seen it, like you said, you begin to look for it. And it's not available you go into the shop, you can't find it to buy. That's a problem. There'll be a disconnect. You're going to take an alternative. So you can't take that buying decision, which is the end goal of marketing.
Okay, just because our time is, almost
fast
spent, yes. There's this particular question that we've been talking about as celebrity endorsements. We saw two brands use the same celebrities, to advertise their brands.
And their competitors
of their competitors. So how can you explain this?
Well, going by the old ethics we're taught before the advent of social media and when the rules are broken, we're not supposed to do that. Actually, models represent brands. Now, when you talk about celebrities, at the end of the day, they're models. That's the prototype or the archetype of a brand. Like I said, brands are humans. They're given life. Sometimes we say a brand is a female or a male. So we give life into the brand. Now, when you do that, it means that you have you come up with an archetype. I don't want to call brands, but if I tell you T brand, something comes into your head. If I say mobile telecom, something comes into your head. Now, based on what your perception is already. And if I describe a lady or a guy, something comes into your head. You create a picture in your head. Now, that is what the model is supposed to bring to life. The archetype of the brand. So when we use celebrities, it's simply because they are popular and they can help a lot more people know what we want, what we mean, who we are, and then drive consideration and conversion for us. Now, when you now see two big brands using the same celebrity, it causes confusion. Now, ideally, it is not supposed to be. But you begin to ask yourself, how are they using them? Are they brand ambassadors? If the answer is yes, then it's a no-no. Brand ambassadorship is strong, is deeper, it's big-time, long-term contracts. You understand? Because we're building on that celebrity's personality to build a brand. You're latching onto it, rather. But then you also have what we call activation models. For example, using the football tournaments, sporting tournaments. You see cases where you have same models drive brands. They're just activations. They're not brand ambassadors. They're not models, direct models. They are actually being used for just an activation. But when you want to build a brand, you stay away from such things because the consumer will be confused.
Yes.
And once he's confused, he will not take that buying decision. And then the brand manager has no job.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Innocent. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And for enlightening us. Now we don't get to argue about branding and advertising. All right. It's been an awesome time, listening to you enlightening us. Thank you for coming to the show finally.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So at this point, we have to wrap up the show. But I'm sure you've learned a thing or two.
Yes, definitely.
And not even just a thing or two.
Especially the steps to take in advertising.
Okay, so my name is Modupe Jacobs.
And I am Wurawala Pukmala.
Be sure to take tea or coffee because in this part of the world it is quite rainy.
Yes,
it's been rainy
the
these
weather
past
has been
days.
cozy.
Yes, so we are saying bye-bye and enjoy the rest of your day.
Definitely.